The morning sun painted the sky purple above New Busan Colony. Daehyun Park stood on his office balcony, watching the vast rice fields stretch toward the mountains. As colony administrator, he had seen this view every day for 10 years. It never got old. Below him, farmers were already working in the fields. The alien soil grew earth crops better than Earth itself ever did. Children ran between the rows, playing games while their parents harvested grain that would feed millions across the galaxy. Another good day, Daehyun said to himself. He walked back inside to check the morning reports. Jin-Woo Kim was loading his hover truck with fresh vegetables. His wife So-young helped him stack the boxes carefully. Their daughter So-min sat on the truck's edge, swinging her legs and humming a song she learned at school. "Dad, why is the sky purple here?" So-min asked for the 100th time. "Because this world is special," Jin-Woo said, ruffling her hair. "Just like you." So-min giggled and jumped down to help her mother. The Kim family had been on New Busan for 5 years. They came from Earth when So-min was just 3 years old. This world was the only home she really remembered. Across the colony, Dr. Hae-jin Lee walked through the vertical farms. The tall buildings grew food in layers, reaching up toward the purple sky like green towers. She checked the computer screens that showed how well each plant was growing. "Production is up 15% this month," her assistant told her. "We're ahead of schedule for the Earth shipment." Hae-jin smiled. New Busan fed 12 other colonies. The soil here was rich and the weather was perfect for growing food. No storms, no droughts, no floods. It was like the planet was made for farming. In the colony's small defense station, Captain Woo Bin Jang looked at his screens. They showed empty space around New Busan. No ships, no problems. His job was easy most days. Pirates never came this far out, and New Busan had nothing worth stealing except food. "Quiet day," said his second-in-command, Lieutenant Taijun Nam. "Every day is quiet here," Woo Bin replied. "That's why people come to places like this." Dr. Yoon Seo Han was in her lab, studying samples of local plants. As the colony's xenobiologist, she studied all the alien life on New Busan. Most of it was harmless. The biggest animals were about the size of Earth rabbits. She had been trying to communicate with the Veltar, a peaceful alien race that lived in the next star system. They had visited once, years ago, just to say hello. Yoon Seo hoped to learn from them about other alien species in the galaxy. The colony had 2.3 million people spread across 3 continents. Most were farmers, but there were also teachers, doctors, engineers, and artists. New Busan was meant to be a place where humans could live simple, peaceful lives. In the main city, children attended school in buildings made of local stone. They learned about Earth's history and mathematics and science, but they also learned about their new world, which plants were safe to eat, how to read the weather patterns, and how to take care of the land. So-min's teacher, Miss Jae-hee Park, was telling the class about the old wars on Earth. "Long ago, people fought each other over land and resources," she said, "but now we have so much space and so many worlds that there's no need to fight." "Will we ever meet aliens?" asked a boy named Chang-min. "Maybe someday," Miss Ji-hee said. "But if we do, we'll be friends with them, just like we're friends with each other." The afternoon was normal and peaceful. Farmers worked their fields. Children played in the meadows where flowers glowed softly in the purple twilight. Families sat down for dinner and talked about their days. Daehyun was finishing his evening reports when the alarm started screaming. Administrator Park, his assistant, burst into the office. "Ships, massive ships just appeared in orbit." Daehyun ran to the window. In the sky above, he could see dark shapes blocking out the stars. They were huge, bigger than any human ship ever built. Captain Woo Bin was already at his station. His screens showed 15 enormous vessels surrounding the planet. They looked like living things, all curves and organic lines. Not like human ships at all. "Try to contact them," Woo Bin ordered. "All frequencies." His communications officer tried every channel. "No response, sir. They're not talking to us." Dr. Yoon Seo ran to her lab and activated her xenobiology database. These ships didn't match any known alien species. She tried to send peaceful greetings in every alien language she knew. Nothing. Jin Woo was putting So Min to bed when the ground shook. The windows rattled. Outside, a bright light filled the sky. "Dad, what's happening?" So Min asked, scared. "I don't know, sweetheart. Stay here with Mom." Jin Woo looked outside. In the distance, he could see explosions. Bright beams of light were coming down from the sky, hitting the ground like hammers. Where they hit, everything turned to fire and melted rock. The alien ships were attacking without warning. They gave no reasons, made no demands. They just started killing. Captain Wubin tried to fight back. New Busan had 6 small defense ships. They launched immediately, firing their weapons at the massive alien vessels. Their shots bounced off, like rain on stone. "Evacuate the colony," Wubin ordered. "All civilian ships, get people off the planet now." The evacuation was chaos. Only the spaceport had ships big enough to carry people, and there weren't enough of them. Families ran through the streets carrying whatever they could grab. Dae-hyun coordinated the evacuation from his office until the building started shaking. Apart, the aliens were destroying everything: farms, cities, forests. The purple sky turned orange with fires. Dr. Yoon Seo made it to a ship with some of her research. Dr. Haye Jin grabbed seed samples from her labs. Families like the Kims crowded into cargo ships with hundreds of other people. So Min cried as their ship lifted off. Through the window, she could see her home burning. The meadows where she played were gone. The school where she learned was melting. Captain Wubin was one of the last to leave. His defense ships were destroyed, but he managed to save 200,000 people. Most of the colony was lost. From orbit, the survivors watched their world die. The alien ships methodically destroyed everything. They turned New Busan from a garden world into a dead rock. Dae-hyun sat in the refugee ship's communication center. He thought about all the people they couldn't save, all the children who would never grow up, all the dreams that had been turned to ash. He recorded one final message to send to Earth. They came without warning. They showed no mercy. Remember us. The alien ships finished their work and disappeared into hyperspace. New Busan was gone, as if it had never existed. The survivors were alone in the dark, heading home to tell Earth what had happened. They didn't know it yet, but this was the beginning of something terrible. Humanity was about to learn what they were truly capable of when someone murdered their children. 6 months after New Busan died, the news reached every human world. The images were shown on every screen. A peaceful farming colony turned to melted rock by unknown aliens. 2.1 million people dead without warning or reason. Admiral Sung-ho Kwon stood in the Terran Defense Force headquarters on Earth. The holographic display showed what was left of New Busan, just a burned ball of rock floating in space. "Show me the alien ships again," he said. The display changed to show the massive bioships that had destroyed the colony. They looked like living creatures made of metal and flesh. Nothing in human records matched them. "We've identified them," said Intelligence Director Young-min Choi. "They call themselves the Kethvar Collective. They're a hive mind species. All of them share one consciousness." "What do they want?" Admiral Kwon asked. "Unknown. They don't communicate with other species. They just destroy and move on." Admiral Kwon stared at the images of dead New Busan. Children had lived there. Families had built homes and grown food and lived peaceful lives. Now they were all gone. "Set up a meeting with the Prime Minister," he said. "We need to talk." Prime Minister Ji-hoon Yoo called an emergency session of the World Council. Representatives from every human world gathered in the Great Hall in Geneva. The mood was dark and angry. "We are here to discuss humanity's response to the New Busan massacre," the Prime Minister said. "Admiral Kwon will brief us on our military options." Admiral Kwon stood before the assembled leaders. "The Kethvar have superior technology and numbers. Our current military cannot stop them if they attack another world." "Then what do you suggest?" asked the representative from Mars. "We build a military that can." Dr. Kyung-mi Oh, Director of Terran Military Research, stood up next. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. "I have something to show you," she said. The room's lights dimmed. A holographic display showed weapons and ships that looked like nothing humanity had ever built before. These are classified projects, Dr. O said. We've been developing them for 20 years, but we never built them because they were considered too dangerous. The display showed planet-killing missiles, ships that could bend space and time, and swarms of intelligent robots that could think for themselves. Too dangerous for what? Asked the representative from Luna. Too dangerous for a peaceful galaxy, Dr. O replied. But the galaxy isn't peaceful anymore, the representatives whispered among themselves. These weapons could destroy entire star systems. They could wipe out whole species. The Kethvar killed 2.1 million innocent people, said Prime Minister Yu. They showed no mercy. They gave no warning. They treated our children like insects to be crushed. He paused and looked around the room. I propose we show them exactly what human insects can do. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would build an army unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Taijun Nam had survived New Busan. He was one of the last ships to escape. Now he stood in a recruitment center on Mars, looking at the line of volunteers that stretched around the building. They were all ages, young soldiers looking for adventure, old veterans who had fought in the colonial wars, and ordinary people who just wanted revenge for New Busan. One of them was Sergeant Major Haewon Shin. Haewon was 40 years old and had served in the military for 22 years. She had gray in her hair and scars on her hands from old battles. Her brother had been a farmer on New Busan. Why do you want to join the Vengeance Corps? Commander Nam asked her. Because my brother grew rice, she said simply. He never hurt anyone. He just wanted to feed people, and they killed him for it. Commander Nam nodded. He had seen the rice fields burning as his ship escaped New Busan. Welcome to the Corps, Sergeant Major. Chief Engineer Young Sik Bang was working in the shipyards of Luna. Before New Busan, he had built cargo ships and passenger liners. Now, he was building something very different. The new ships looked like predators. They were black and angular, covered with weapons that could crack planets. The biggest one was called Soul's Fury. It was being built for Captain Wu Bin Jiang, who had been promoted to admiral for his heroism at New Busan. How long until the fleet is ready? Asked Admiral Kwan during his inspection. 18 months for the first wave, Young Sik replied. But Admiral, these ships, they're not meant for exploration or defense. They're only good for one thing. What's that? Killing everything they point at. Admiral Kwan looked at the skeleton of Soul's Fury. It was already 1/2 kilometer, long and still growing. When finished, it would carry enough firepower to glass a moon. Good, he said. Professor Minjun Lee worked in his lab at the Seoul Institute of Technology. He studied the fragments of Kethvar technology that had been recovered from New Busan. His daughter Subin had been killed in the attack. She was only 8 years old. Minjun didn't sleep much anymore. He worked 20 hours a day trying to understand how the alien weapons worked. His colleagues worried about him, but they left him alone. Everyone dealt with grief differently. I've made a breakthrough, he announced to his research team. I know how their plasma cannons work. He showed them equations on his computer screen. The math was complex, but the result was simple. He could build better weapons than the Kethvar. Sir, maybe you should rest, said his assistant. You've been working for 3 days straight. Minjun looked at the photo of Subin on his desk. She was smiling and holding a flower from New Busan's meadows. I'll rest when they're all dead, he said. Across the galaxy, the Kethvar continued their expansion. They destroyed 3 more worlds, a mining colony of the peaceful Altrurians, a research station belonging to the ancient Veltar, and a trading post run by the insectoid Zephyrians. The hive-mind consciousness called Thulmak felt satisfaction with each destruction. The galaxy was full of weak species that wasted resources on art and philosophy and peace. The Kethvar would put those resources to better use. The humans were forgotten. They were just another species of primitives who had been dealt with appropriately. Their few surviving ships had fled back to their home system. They would be conquered later when the Kethvar had time. But in that home system, something was happening that the Kethvar didn't understand. The humans weren't running away to hide. They were gathering their strength. Every human world was building weapons. Every human factory was producing ships of war. Every human scientist was working on ways to kill HFY more efficiently. Dr. O's secret projects came out of their hidden labs. The planet killers and reality benders and thinking machines began to take shape. Humanity was turning its entire civilization into a weapon. Status report, Admiral Kwan asked during a meeting of the military council. Production is ahead of schedule, reported Young Sik Bang. We'll have 50 battleships ready in 6 months. Personnel training is progressing well, said Commander Nam. The Vengeance Corps will be ready for deployment. Research and development has 12 new weapon systems ready for testing, added Dr. O. Admiral Kwan nodded. And our target? We've located a HFY frontier world called Geltor, said Intelligence Director Choi. It has a population of roughly 5 million. Their defenses are minimal. Perfect for a test run, said Admiral Kwan. The meeting ended and the officers went back to their preparations. None of them spoke about what they were really doing. They were planning genocide. They were going to kill an entire species. But when they thought about New Busan's children burning in alien fire, they felt no guilt. The HFY had made the rules of this war. They had decided that innocent life had no value. Humanity was simply going to play by those rules. And they were very good at games once they learned how to play. 18 months after New Busan burned, humanity had changed. Every factory, every shipyard, every research lab was focused on one goal: building the most devastating military force the galaxy had ever seen. Director Kwang Soo Park floated in. Zero gravity through the massive construction zones of the asteroid belt. Around him, robotic workers assembled ships that looked like mechanical nightmares. These weren't the clean, bright vessels of exploration humanity used to build. These were weapons designed to end worlds. Production report, he said into his communicator. We're building 12 ships per day now, replied his chief supervisor. The new automated factories are exceeding all projections. Kwang-soo nodded as he watched a newly completed destroyer drift past. Its hull was black as space, covered in weapons that could tear apart mountains. Humanity had learned to build tools of death as efficiently as they once built tools of life. Chief designer In-ho Kim stood before the massive hull of Seoul's Fury. The ship was 3 kilometers long now, bristling with cannons that could punch holes through planets. Inside its belly, it carried enough firepower to sterilize entire continents. She's beautiful, said Admiral Wu Binjiang, who would command the flagship. In-ho looked up at his creation. She's the most destructive thing ever built by human hands. I hope she's destructive enough, Wu Bin replied. The Seoul's Fury wasn't just a ship. It was a mobile weapons platform that could crack moons. Its main cannon used technology reverse-engineered from HFY fragments. But humans had improved it, made it deadlier, more precise. Dr. Kyung-mi-oh worked in her secret laboratory beneath the Swiss Alps. Her team had spent months perfecting their most terrible creation, weapons called Nova bombs. These devices could destabilize stars, causing them to explode and destroy entire solar systems. The calculations are correct, she told her assistant. 1 bomb can trigger a supernova. Will we really use these? The assistant asked. Dr. O thought about the children of New Busan, reduced to atoms by alien plasma, if we have to. The Nova bombs were small, each one could fit in a briefcase, but they contained enough destructive power to end civilizations. Humanity had learned to build pocket-sized apocalypses. Colonel Haewon Shin trained the new Vengeance, corps in the mountains of Tibet. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They wore powered armor that made them faster and stronger than any baseline human. Their weapons could punch through tank armor or vaporize targets from orbit. Remember, she told her troops, we're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for justice. The HFY killed innocents. We're here to make sure they never do it again. Corporal Boram Seo raised her hand. She was young, barely 20, but her eyes held the cold focus of a born killer. Colonel, what if they try to surrender? They didn't give our people a chance to surrender, Haewon replied. We extend the same courtesy. The soldiers nodded. grimly. These weren't peacekeepers or defenders. They were instruments of vengeance, trained to show no mercy to those who had shown none. Private Dong-hyuk An was one of the youngest recruits. His family had lived on New Busan before the attack. He barely escaped as a child, watching his home burn from a refugee ship. Now he was 19 and ready to pay the aliens back for his stolen childhood. "When do we deploy?" he asked. "Soon," Colonel Shin replied. "Very soon." AI specialist Yeon-soo Young worked in the computer cores of Earth's most advanced research facility. She was building something unprecedented, artificial intelligences designed specifically for warfare. These AIs could think faster than any organic mind and calculate the most efficient ways to destroy enemies. "Project Nemesis is online," she reported to her supervisors. "We have 12 tactical AIs ready for deployment." Each Nemesis unit was named after a family lost on New Busan. Nemesis 7 carried the memories and personality patterns of 8-year-old So-min Kim. But where the real So-min had been innocent and playful, this AI was cold and calculating, focused only on destroying those who had killed her template. "They're learning fast," Yeon-soo said as she watched the AIs run combat simulations. "Too fast, maybe." "Is that a problem?" asked her supervisor. "I hope not. But these AIs, they think about warfare in ways we never could. They see patterns and possibilities that terrify me." The Nemesis AIs were housed in quantum computers aboard every major human warship. They could coordinate attacks across light years, predicting enemy movements and calculating optimal destruction patterns. They were the perfect generals for an army of vengeance. Professor Min-jun Lee had unlocked the secrets of HFY technology and improved upon them. His quantum tunneling weapons could ignore shields and armor, striking directly at the atomic structure of targets. His temporal displacement cannons could age enemy ships centuries in seconds. "The prototypes are ready for testing," he announced to the Weapons Development Board. They tested the new weapons on asteroids in the outer system. The results were devastating. A single shot from a quantum tunneler could core a mountain. The old temporal weapons turned solid rock into dust in microseconds. "My God," whispered one of the observers. "What have we built?" Min-jun looked at the photo of his daughter Subin on his workbench. "Justice," he said simply. While humanity built its arsenal of vengeance, the HFY continued their expansion across the galaxy. They had destroyed 17 worlds now, consuming resources and eliminating what they saw as inferior species. Thulmak, the collective consciousness that directed the HFY, felt satisfaction at their progress. The galaxy was being cleansed of weaklings and dreamers. Soon only the strong would remain. Their scouts reported increased activity in the human home system, but Thulmak dismissed it as irrelevant. The humans were primitives with crude technology. They posed no threat to the glorious HFY collective. This was a mistake that would cost them everything. In the war rooms of Earth, human leaders studied star charts showing HFY territory. Red markers indicated destroyed worlds. Blue markers showed HFY bases and colonies. "We've identified their frontier world," reported Intelligence Director Young Min Choi. "Geltor has 5 million HFY and minimal defenses. It's perfect for our first strike." Admiral Sung Ho Kwan studied the tactical display. "How many ships for the assault?" 200 vessels, sir, led by Seoul's Fury. "And our objectives?" "Complete elimination of all HFY presence. No survivors, no infrastructure left intact." The room fell silent. They were planning the destruction of an entire world and the deaths of millions of aliens. By any previous human standard, it was monstrous. But the standard had changed when alien fire turned New Busan's children to ash. "Approved," Admiral Kwan said. "Launch date?" 2 weeks, sir." The final preparations began. Ships loaded ammunition and supplies. Soldiers checked their weapons and armor. AIs ran final combat calculations. Scientists armed their reality-bending devices. Humanity had spent 18 months turning their entire civilization into a weapon. Now it was time to test that weapon on the species that had forced them to build it. The HFY had made one crucial error in their calculations. They had assumed that because humans came from a peaceful farming world, they were soft and weak. They didn't understand that humans had crawled out of a death world where everything tried to kill them. They had evolved as pack hunters who could coordinate perfectly to bring down prey much larger than themselves. And now, the largest pack of hunters in the galaxy was coming for them. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Geltor system like a swarm of mechanical sharks. 200 warships hung in the darkness, their black hulls drinking in starlight. At their head was Sol's Fury, 3 kilometers of concentrated destruction commanded by Admiral Wu Binjiang. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his communications officer. Wu Bin stared at the alien world on his main screen. Geltor was a brown and purple planet covered in hive cities, where 5 million Kethvar lived and worked. It looked peaceful from this distance. So had New Busan. "Begin the attack," he ordered. The first wave came from Captain Hyejin Choi's stealth destroyer, New Busan's Ghost. Her ship was invisible to Kethvar sensors, a phantom made of human engineering and cold revenge. She moved through the outer system like a predator stalking prey. "Deploying hunter swarms," Hyejin announced. From her ship's belly poured thousands of small robotic drones. Each one was intelligent, self-replicating, and programmed with one simple directive: find Kethvar and kill them. They spread through space like a plague of metal insects. The Kethvar defense fleet detected the human ships too late. 12. Bioships launched from orbital stations around Geltor, their living hulls pulsing with alien technology. They had destroyed human colonies with ease before. They expected this to be the same. They were wrong. Lieutenant Commander Yoon Young Kim coordinated the human response from her command ship. Quantum-entangled communication networks let her coordinate with every vessel in real time, no matter how far apart they were. "Focus fire on their command vessel," she ordered. Sol's Fury's main cannon charged with a sound like thunder. The weapon used technology stolen from the Kethvar themselves, improved and perfected by human ingenuity. When it fired, the beam punched through the alien flagship like it was made of paper. The Kethvar ship exploded in silence, its biohull rupturing and bleeding atmosphere into space. The alien crew died without understanding what had killed them. "Target destroyed," reported Weapons Officer Jamin Song. "Moving to secondary targets." The human fleet moved through the Kethvar defenses like a scythe through wheat. Every shot was precise, calculated by Nemesis AIs to cause maximum damage. The aliens had never faced an enemy that fought with such cold efficiency. Major Young-Ho Park led the first orbital assault. His dropships fell through Geltor's atmosphere like meteors carrying soldiers of the Vengeance Corps to the planet's surface. They wore armor that made them faster than cheetahs and stronger than gorillas. The Kethvar ground forces were waiting for them. Thousands of insectoid warriors with plasma weapons and biomechanical war machines. They formed defensive lines around their hive cities, confident in their ability to repel primitive human invaders. They were slaughtered. Sergeant Changmin Yu landed his drop pod in the middle of a Kethvar formation. His powered armor absorbed their plasma fire while his weapons turned their warriors into smoking craters. Around him, other human soldiers moved with deadly precision. "Remember New Busan," he said into his communicator as he cut through alien ranks. The Kethvar had numbers, but humans had technology and tactics they couldn't comprehend. Lieutenant Commander Yoon Young Kim's coordination network let every soldier know exactly where their allies were and what they were doing. They moved like a single organism with 200,000 deadly parts. Private Bo-Ra Lee used her quantum rifle to target specific aliens in crowded formations. The weapon ignored armor and shields, striking directly at the atomic level. Where it hit, Kethvar simply ceased to exist. Corporal Jinsu Park commanded a squad of automated combat drones. The machines followed his orders with perfect obedience, never tiring, never hesitating, never showing mercy. They advanced through Kethvar positions like a tide of steel and death. The alien defenders fell back to their hive cities, massive structures that stretched deep underground. They thought the thick biometal walls would protect them. They were wrong again. Dr. Min Jun Lee's weapons had been loaded aboard the human ships. quantum tunneling devices that could reach through any barrier. When the humans fired them at the hive cities, the shots passed through walls and armor as if they weren't there. The explosions came from inside the alien structures. Entire city blocks collapsed as their foundations were destroyed from within. Kethvar civilians died by the thousands, crushed in the ruins of their own homes. Above the planet, the space battle continued. The hunter drones from New Busan's Ghost had found the Kethvar orbital stations. They swarmed over the alien structures like antibodies attacking a virus, tearing them apart piece by piece. All orbital defenses neutralized, Captain Hyojin reported. The planet is defenseless. Admiral Wubin nodded grimly. Begin planetary bombardment. The human fleet opened fire on Geltor's surface. Energy beams and kinetic weapons rained down like the wrath of gods. Where they struck, continents cracked and oceans boiled. But this wasn't random destruction. The Nemesis AIs calculated every shot to cause maximum damage to Kethvar infrastructure while preserving useful resources. They were methodically dismantling an entire civilization. In the deepest bunkers of Geltor, Kethvar leaders tried to understand what was happening. The humans were supposed to be primitives with crude weapons. How were they winning so easily? One of the alien commanders managed to send a message to Thulmak, the collective consciousness. The humans, they fight like us, but worse. They show no mercy, no emotion. They kill like machines. Thulmak received the message across light years through the quantum links that connected all Kethvar minds. For the first time in the species' history, the collective consciousness felt something it had never experienced before. Fear. The battle for Geltor lasted 6 hours. When it was over, nothing remained but smoking ruins and radioactive craters. 5 million Kethvar were dead. Their cities were destroyed. Their orbital infrastructure was space debris. Not a single human soldier had been killed. Colonel Hei-Wan Shin walked through the ruins of the largest hive city. Her armor's sensors detected no life signs. The aliens were all gone, their bodies buried under tons of rubble or vaporized by human weapons. Target eliminated, she reported to Admiral Wubin. No survivors detected. Understood. All ships prepare for departure. But before they left, the humans did one more thing. They planted a quantum beacon in Geltor's ruins, one that would broadcast a message to any Kethvar ship that came looking for their lost colony. The message was simple. This is what happens when you murder human children. We are coming for the rest of you. As the human fleet jumped back into hyperspace, leaving behind only death and destruction, the Kethvar collective consciousness tried to process what had happened. The humans had fought with a level of calculated brutality that surpassed even the Kethvar themselves. Thulmak sent urgent messages to all Kethvar fleets. The humans are more dangerous than we calculated. They must be destroyed immediately, before they can strike again. But it was already too late. The humans weren't planning to strike again. They were planning to strike everywhere all at once. In the command center of Sol's Fury, Admiral Wubin studied star charts showing Kethvar territory. Geltor had been just the beginning. There were dozens of alien worlds, hundreds of fleets, millions of enemies still alive. Admiral, said his tactical officer, we're receiving surrender offers from 3 Kethvar commanders. They want to negotiate. Wubin thought about New Busan's children, playing in meadows that no longer existed. He thought about families torn apart by alien fire, dreams destroyed by creatures that showed no mercy to the innocent. Send them our response, he said. No negotiations, no surrender, no mercy. The message went out across the galaxy. Humanity had tried peace once. The Kethvar had answered with genocide. Now humanity would answer with something worse. The first battle was over. The war was just beginning. 3 years after New Busan died, humanity's war machine had grown beyond imagination. What started as revenge for one colony had become the systematic dismantling of an entire species. The galaxy watched in horror as humans demonstrated why they were the only species to evolve on a death world. Fleet Admiral Dae-Hyun Park, former colony administrator of New Busan, now commanded the largest military force in human history. He stood on the bridge of his flagship Eternal Vengeance, watching holographic displays show the destruction of another HFY world. "Kethmal Prime is finished, sir," reported his tactical officer. "Total elimination achieved in 4 hours." Dae-hyun nodded without emotion. That was the 15th HFY world they had sterilized this month. Each attack was faster and more efficient than the last. Humanity was perfecting the art of genocide. "What's our next target?" he asked. "Zethkar system. Sir, 3 planets, approximately 12 million HFY. Schedule the attack for tomorrow." Dr. Min-jun Lee's laboratories had produced weapons that violated the laws of physics. His latest creation was called Grey Goo, self-replicating nanomachines that could consume any matter and turn it into more of themselves. The test was successful, he reported to the Weapons Development Board. A single canister can consume a HFY bioship in 30 minutes. The Grey Goo had been deployed against a captured alien vessel. The nanomachines ate through the living hull like acid through paper, converting the ship's own mass into more weapons. Within an hour, nothing remained but a cloud of hungry microscopic machines. "Any way to stop them once they're released?" asked Admiral Kwan. "Built-in kill switch activates after 6 hours," Min-jun replied. "But in that time, they can consume an entire fleet," the Admiral nodded approvingly. "Begin mass production." Commander Sol Mikang had perfected humanity's most disturbing weapon, temporal displacement cannons. These devices could age targets rapidly, causing enemy ships to rust and decay in seconds. She watched through her ship's viewports as a HFY fleet fell victim to her weapons. The alien vessels, moments before sleek and deadly, suddenly looked ancient and corroded. Their hulls cracked apart as centuries of decay hit them in an instant. "Temporal bombardment complete," she reported. "Enemy fleet has aged approximately 400 years, no survivors." Her crew cheered, but Solmi felt no joy. She had turned time itself into a weapon. The implications terrified even her. Colonel Boram Seo had been promoted after demonstrating exceptional tactical brilliance in the early campaigns. Now she led ground forces that had become legend among the galaxy's species. Her soldiers moved, like ghosts, and struck like lightning. On the surface of Vashator, she coordinated the assault on the largest HFY fortress in known space. The massive structure was built into a mountain and defended by 1 million alien warriors. "Remember," she told her troops over the comm, "they chose this war when they burned our children." Her soldiers moved through the fortress like a plague. Their powered armor let them tear through walls, and their weapons turned corridors into slaughter zones. The HFY defenders, despite their numbers, could not stop the advancing humans. Lieutenant Sul Mi-wan used her molecular disruptor to carve through a blast door 3 meters thick. Behind it, dozens of HFY warriors waited in ambush. They died before they could fire a shot. Sergeant Han Buell Kang commanded a squad of war robots that followed his every order. The machines were faster and stronger than any organic soldier, and they never hesitated to kill. They swept through the fortress like mechanical death. Private Ye-jin Cho carried a quantum rifle that could target individual atoms in enemy bodies. She used it to execute HFY commanders with surgical precision, killing them even when they hid behind cover and shields. The fortress fell in 2 hours. 1 million defenders died. Not a single human soldier was seriously injured. Strategic AI Nemesis 7, programmed with the memories of 8-year-old So-min Kim, had calculated every possible escape route from HFY space. The artificial intelligence thought with the cold logic of a machine, but remembered the burning meadows where a child had once played. Analysis complete. Nemesis 7 reported to Fleet Command. The HFY have prepared 17 evacuation routes from their core systems. All routes have been mapped and can be interdicted. Recommendations? Asked Admiral Park. Deploy hunter-killer fleets to each route. Eliminate all vessels attempting to escape. Leave no survivors to warn other species of our capabilities. The plan was implemented immediately. Human ships moved to block every exit from HFY space. The aliens were trapped in their own territory, watching their worlds burn one by one. Other galactic civilizations watched humanity's campaign with growing alarm. The peaceful Altrurian Federation sent diplomatic messages urging restraint. The ancient Veltar hierarchy offered to mediate peace talks, Ambassador Xiongwan. O received their delegations in Geneva. He was a small man with gentle eyes, but his words were steel. The Kethvar committed genocide against innocent civilians, he told the alien ambassadors. This is proportional response under human law. But you're destroying their entire species, protested the Ultrurian delegate. Surely some mercy is appropriate. Ambassador O activated a holographic display showing New Busan before and after the attack. Green fields and happy families became smoking craters in ash. Did they show mercy to our children? He asked. Did they negotiate before they attacked? Did they give warnings before they started killing? The alien delegates had no answer. The Kethvar established the rules of this conflict, O continued. Total war against civilians. No communication, no mercy. We are simply playing by their rules. This could set a dangerous precedent, warned the Veltar ambassador. Other species might follow your example. Good, O replied. Maybe the next time someone thinks about committing genocide, they'll remember what happened to the Kethvar. The galactic community was learning a harsh lesson about humanity. They had assumed that because humans built gardens and wrote poetry, they were soft and harmless. They didn't understand that the same creativity that made art could also devise new ways to kill. Dr. Kyung-mi. O stood in her laboratory, looking at the Nova bombs her team had perfected. Each device was small enough to carry in a briefcase, but powerful enough to trigger stellar collapse. A single bomb could destroy an entire solar system. The Kethvar home system has been located, her assistant reported. Intelligence suggests a population of over 50 billion across 7 worlds. Dr. O nodded. Prepare 12 Nova bombs for deployment. 12, ma'am. That seems like overkill. She thought about So-Min Kim, who would never grow up to have children of her own. About Jinwoo and So-Young, who died trying to protect their daughter. About 2.1 million people who had done nothing wrong except exist in the path of alien expansion. No such thing as overkill, she said. Not anymore. The Kethvar collective consciousness, Thulmak, was experiencing something unprecedented in their species' history, panic. Reports came in from across their territory of worlds going silent, fleets disappearing, colonies found empty except for radioactive craters. The humans were everywhere, striking without warning, showing no mercy, leaving no survivors. They fought, with the efficiency of machines but the creativity of mad gods. How many worlds have we lost? Thulmak asked, through the quantum network that connected all Kethvar minds. 43 colonies destroyed, 17 fleets eliminated, estimated casualties 200 million, came the reply. And human losses? Unknown. They recover their dead and wounded. Our estimates suggest fewer than 10,000 casualties across all engagements. The collective consciousness reeled. The humans were fighting a war of extermination and winning easily. How was this possible? The answer was simple, but terrifying. The Kethvar had evolved as a hive mind, thinking collectively, but slowly. Humans had evolved as pack hunters, each individual capable of independent thought but able to coordinate perfectly when necessary. In war, that made all the difference. Desperate, the Kethvar tried one last strategy. They sent envoys to the humans, under flags of truce, offering to negotiate an end to the conflict. The envoys were small bioships carrying Kethvar diplomats programmed with concepts of peace and surrender. They transmitted peaceful intentions on every frequency as they approached human space. They were destroyed by automated defense systems before they got within a light year of Earth. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer interested in communication. They had tried peace once. The Kethvar had responded with the murder of children. Now there would be only war until every last alien was dead and New Busan was avenged.